The slap echoed through the courtroom like a gunshot. Every head turned. The woman's cheek burned, but her eyes didn't flinch. No one, not even the officers, had any idea who she really was. In less than a minute, the balance of power in that room would shatter. And justice would wear a new face. Rain lashed the cracked windshield of the patrol car as Officer Cole tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The wipers squeaked in rhythm, cutting through the night storm that had drenched Charleston, South Carolina, the June of 2023. His partner, a younger officer with restless energy, flicked his flashlight nervously. On the corner of Broad Street, under the flickering sign of a closed diner, a black woman stood alone. She held a slim black folder against her chest, shielding it from the rain. Her heels clicked softly against the pavement as she checked her phone. A car horn blared somewhere down the block. "Suspicious," Cole muttered. The cruiser rolled closer. The beams of their headlights swept over her face, poised, calm, and unbothered. She wasn't loitering. She was waiting. But to them, that didn't matter. Cole swung the door open. "Evening. Mind telling us what you're doing here at this hour?" Her voice was clear. "Waiting for my ride. I have court in the morning." He squinted. "Court? You a witness?" "No," she replied. "Something like that." The partner stepped out too, hand resting near his holster. The rain soaked through his uniform, dripping off his cap. "Let's see some ID." She hesitated. Not because she was hiding anything, but because she knew this dance. She had lived it before. Her hand moved slowly toward her purse. Cole's bark sliced through the rain. "Hands where I can see them." She froze. A single breath escaped her lips. "I'm reaching for my wallet." "You asked for ID." In 2 strides, Cole was in her face. The flashlight's beam hit her eyes. "Don't get smart with me. Turn around. Now." A small crowd had gathered under the awning of the diner, watching. The woman placed the folder carefully on the hood of the car. Cole grabbed her wrist, not roughly, but with the casual authority of someone who never expected consequences. Then the partner misread a flinch. His hand shot forward. Slap. Her head snapped sideways. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. For a split second, everything stilled. Rain, breath, heartbeat. Then she straightened her spine slowly, eyes locking onto Cole's. Not angry. Not broken. Cold. Knowing. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," she said softly. "The officers cuffed her anyway. Charged her with disorderly conduct. They never asked her name. They never looked at the folder." Inside the holding cell, the fluorescent lights hummed above her like wasps. 2 drunk teenagers argued in the corner. She sat on the bench, eyes closed, lips pressed into a thin line. Every second that passed was another calculation in her mind. She wasn't just going to defend herself. She was going to end careers. At 8:45 a.m., the courtroom buzzed like a hive. Lawyers shuffled papers, defendants whispered nervously, bailiffs barked orders. Judge Harris, a man known for his clipped tone and impatience, sat high on the bench, tapping his pen. The woman, still in last night's clothes but carrying that same black folder, was let in. Her wrists were still slightly red from the cuffs. Cole stood at the back of the courtroom, arms folded, wearing a smug half-smile. He whispered to his partner, "Bet she pleads out." She didn't even glance at them. As the bailiff called her name, half the room leaned forward. She walked up, not like a suspect, but like someone walking into a meeting she'd been waiting for. Every eye followed her. The bailiff's voice cracked through the room. "Case number 23-481, State of South Carolina versus Naomi Carter." A low murmur swept across the benches. Naomi stood at the defense table, posture straight, black folder still clutched like armor. The prosecutor, a young assistant DA with slicked-back hair, glanced at her with the casual superiority of someone expecting an easy win. Judge Harris adjusted his glasses. "Miss Carter, you've been charged with disorderly conduct and resisting lawful instructions. How do you plead?" Naomi's voice didn't waver. "Not guilty, Your Honor." Cole chuckled from the gallery. The sound sliced through the courtroom like a knife. Judge Harris narrowed his eyes. "Do you have legal representation?" "I'll be representing myself," Naomi said. A wave of whispers followed. Representing herself? Most defendants barely understood the charges. She didn't flinch. She simply placed the folder on the table and flipped it open. The prosecutor cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Your Honor, the defendant was apprehended last night after refusing to comply with officers' instructions." She became aggressive. "That's a lie," Naomi's voice cut clean through his sentence. Gasps. Even Judge Harris paused. Defendants rarely interrupted the prosecution. She stepped closer to the center. "I didn't become aggressive. I complied. Slowly. Deliberately. Because I've seen what happens when black women don't move the right way in front of armed men." The gallery quieted. Even the rain outside seemed to hold its breath. The prosecutor frowned. "Your Honor, the defendant is trying to make this about." "I'm making it about facts," she said. "And I have them. Right here." Her hand tapped the folder. Cole shifted in his seat. He hadn't expected her to look this composed. His partner leaned in, whispering, "She's bluffing." But she wasn't. Judge Harris sighed. "Miss Carter, this is not the place for speeches. Present your evidence properly or I'll hold you in contempt." She looked up at him with eyes that didn't blink. "Don't worry, Your Honor. I know exactly how this place works." The prosecutor called his first witness, Officer Cole. He strutted to the stand like a man walking onto familiar ground. Right hand raised, oath taken. He gave his testimony smoothly, practiced a story where Naomi was agitated, non-compliant, and verbally aggressive. "She reached into her bag suddenly," he said. "My partner took necessary action to control the situation." Naomi stood slowly. She approached the podium, folder in hand. "Officer Cole, you say I was aggressive. Did I raise my voice?" He hesitated. "You were confrontational." "That's not what I asked." "Did I raise my voice?" "No." "Did I threaten you?" "No." "Did I have a weapon?" "No." "Did I make any sudden moves before your partner hit me?" Cole's jaw tightened. He perceived. "Yes or no?" Silence. "No." The gallery buzzed. Even Judge Harris leaned forward. Naomi flipped open the folder and pulled out something no one expected, a USB drive. She handed it to the bailiff. "This contains footage from a security camera mounted on the diner across the street. I submitted a FOIA request for it this morning." The prosecutor blinked. This evidence wasn't disclosed." "I emailed your office at 8:07 a.m. Check your inbox," Naomi said coolly. The bailiff plugged the USB into the court screen. The video played. Rain. Patrol car. Naomi standing calmly. Officers approaching. Hands raised. Voice clear. Compliant. Then. Slap. The sound was unmistakable. The courtroom collectively flinched. Cole's face drained of color. His partner stared at the floor. Judge Harris's tone hardened. "Officer Cole, care to explain this?" Cole stammered. She looked like she was going to." Naomi stepped forward. "No, Your Honor." I look like a woman reaching for her ID exactly the way I was told to. And for that, I was struck in public view. Arrested. Humiliated. And dragged into this courtroom as if I were the criminal. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with the force of held-back rage. What would you do, she asked the room, scanning faces one by one, if this happened to your daughter? Your sister? You? Silence fell like a heavy curtain. The prosecutor tried to regain footing. Your Honor, regardless of this unfortunate incident, the charges still. Naomi didn't wait. Your Honor, I move to dismiss all charges with prejudice. And I intend to file formal misconduct complaints against both officers involved. Judge Harris adjusted his robe. This is highly irregular. I'll need a recess to review. But before he could finish, the courtroom doors opened. A senior clerk hurried in, holding a thick file. He approached the judge's bench, whispered something, handed over the file. Judge Harris's eyebrows shot up. He flipped through the papers quickly. His expression shifted from annoyance, to surprise, to disbelief. The gallery watched as Naomi quietly closed her folder, as if she knew exactly what was in that file. Because she did. This wasn't just defense. This was checkmate. The judge's fingers hovered over the pages like he was touching something radioactive. He looked up slowly, eyes narrowing at Naomi with a mix of confusion and dawning realization. Ms. Carter, is this accurate? Naomi didn't blink. Every word, Your Honor. The courtroom leaned forward. Even the bailiff took a step closer. The prosecutor shuffled awkwardly, realizing he was now standing on a trapdoor that was about to swing open. Judge Harris cleared his throat, voice slightly shaken. For the record, this file contains confirmation that Ms. Naomi Carter has recently been appointed as acting federal judge for the Eastern District of South Carolina, effective in 2 weeks' time. Gasps exploded around the room like fireworks. Cole's face turned pale. The prosecutor's jaw fell open. And Naomi? She simply tilted her head, watching them squirm. The judge continued, struggling to keep his composure. This is unprecedented. I was unaware of any pending appointments in this district. Naomi finally stepped forward, her heels echoing like gavel strikes on the tile floor. I wasn't required to disclose it. The appointment was confirmed last week. I decided to observe some cases quietly before stepping into the bench. I never imagined my first case would be my own. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Every syllable carried authority. Cole shifted in his seat like a man suddenly aware of every bad decision he'd ever made. His partner stared at the floor, red-faced. The prosecutor tried to salvage what little ground he had. Your Honor, surely this changes nothing about the defendant's behavior. Naomi's eyes locked onto him. It changes everything. She turned to face the gallery, the officers, the court. Last night, 2 officers saw a black woman standing in the rain and decided she didn't belong. They didn't ask questions. They didn't check facts. They assumed. And then they acted on those assumptions with violence. She pointed to the screen, where the slap still froze like a haunting photograph. That moment was their truth. Their instinct. And today, that instinct brought them into a courtroom where power looks different than they expected. Her gaze swept over Cole. You didn't see a federal judge. You saw a target. And you struck. The courtroom was silent, except for the faint patter of rain outside. Judge Harris finally spoke. Given the evidence presented, the charges against Ms. Carter are hereby dismissed with prejudice. Furthermore, the court recommends that an internal affairs investigation be opened regarding the conduct of Officers Cole and Jenkins. The gavel hit. The sound was final. Cole's hands trembled. I didn't know. Naomi cut him off. You didn't care to know. Then came the moment no one expected. Judge Harris stood from his bench. Given the unique circumstances, Miss Carter, would you be willing to assume the bench temporarily to oversee the immediate disciplinary proceedings? A ripple of shock tore through the room. Naomi's eyes flickered, half disbelief, half steel. She stepped toward the bench slowly, the bailiff opening the side door for her. Her heels climbed the wooden steps. For the first time, she stood where judgment is delivered. She adjusted the robe handed to her. It wasn't hers yet, but it fit like destiny. She looked down at the same officers who had cuffed her less than 12 hours ago. The same gallery that had watched her humiliation now watched her ascend. Officer Cole. Officer Jenkins, her voice rang out, steady, commanding. You will remain present as this court initiates formal misconduct review. Effective immediately, your suspension will be recommended pending full investigation. Cole tried to speak, but his voice cracked. This isn't fair. Naomi leaned forward slightly. Fair, she said softly, dangerously. Do you want to talk about fair? The silence was deafening. Outside, the storm had finally broken. Sunlight leaked through the tall windows, streaking the room with light. It cast a golden beam right across Naomi's face like a spotlight from history itself. She removed the robe, folded it carefully, and placed it on the bench. My position begins in 2 weeks, she said, her voice quiet but strong. But justice doesn't wait for dates on a calendar. It lives in moments like this. As she exited the courtroom, reporters swarmed the hallway. Cameras flashed. Microphones shoved forward. Judge Carter, how does it feel to turn the tables? What message do you have for law enforcement? Did you plan this? She paused at the courthouse steps, rainwater glistening on the pavement like scattered diamonds. Her eyes scanned the crowd. She spoke slowly, deliberately. Power doesn't always wear a uniform. Sometimes it wears heels, carries a folder, and walks quietly, until someone pushes too far. She turned and walked away, the city's noise swallowing her footsteps. But in that courtroom, in that town, in that moment, something fundamental had shifted. Somewhere in the gallery, an older black woman whispered to her granddaughter, "Remember her name." Because stories like these don't end in courtrooms. They echo. Moral. A uniform doesn't define justice. Actions do. Prejudice sees what it wants. But truth always finds a way to speak. Fire. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on bell for more powerful stories every week.